So I definitely think this is going to change the way we experience weddings from a couple, from a planner, from a venue, and from a guest perspective. I think it is going to create a sense of community for everyone and generate excitement from all ends.
Welcome to the Venue RX. On this show, we document and share best practices around owning, operating, and managing world-class wedding venues.
What is up, everyone? Jonathan here with the Venue RX, and thank you so much for joining us today. We have a very interesting show, something that I'm really interested in, how technology really is impacting this space. And I've long said that, I think the venue space and the wedding industry, in a lot of ways, is kind of this cottage industry, and we need technology to kind of keep pushing us into the future and, making services better for our clients and everyone. So today, I am very happy to talk with Kerry Kroll from the Wedding App. Thank you so much for being here today, Kerry.
Thank you for having me on. I'm very excited about this.
Well, this is awesome. I'm really excited to kind of hear your story, hear how you got started, your vision for what you're building, and you did something kind of wild. We were just talking about it. You launched this thing using your own wedding as kind of a launch, an official launch? Yeah, okay. So could you just kind of kick us off? Where did this idea come from? Talk about the beta launch, and then I'm just kind of curious about your background. Is it in tech or wedding? So we'll get started there.
So I definitely did not intentionally need to create a software company. My background is in event management, primarily corporate events. I've been working in the event industry for 11 years, working with high-profile corporations within sports, entertainment, and tech companies. During the pandemic, I was one of the many people that were affected by layoffs and decided to explore wedding planning, as I had really great connections with the venues and vendors in the Charlotte area, which is where I'm from, Charlotte, even though it's my fake New York background. But so I decided to start the company to be a wedding planner because of the uncertainty of knowing when corporate events were going to go back. And I absolutely fell in love with the job. I love being part of everyone's special day and thought this was going to be my next career, to be a wedding planner. Unfortunately, wedding planning was cut off a little short. My father unexpectedly passed while I was working a wedding. So I did decide to remove myself from the wedding industry and get back into corporate events. And while I was attending a conference, we were using technology to be able to communicate with other exhibitors. This conference had about 60,000 people, so it's a lot bigger than what we see at weddings. But I was so intrigued by the technology they were using to be able to get push alerts when the keynote speaker was going on stage and being able to interact with the other exhibitors and have interactive maps. And I just kept thinking, like, wow, this would be an amazing tool to have for the wedding industry. And at that time, my boyfriend and I had just moved in with each other. So I knew where this was going. And the natural event planner in me is already preparing my wedding. I'm like, I want something like this for my wedding. So I picked up the phone and I started calling a bunch of these event management software companies that we were using at conferences. And I said, hey, could I use this for a wedding? I think this would be great to have everybody all in one place, be able to communicate with each other. Really, like, even it's like kind of like an icebreaker going to these conferences. I kind of get to see who else is going to be there, and I know what I'm walking into versus like wondering who am I grabbing dinner with tonight or where are we going. And although these companies could customize the apps, it wasn't tailored to weddings and what I wanted it to do for the wedding industry, and really focusing on like the registry side and bridesmaids and the wedding party. And I just had this vision of I could do this app, but I need it for weddings. And eventually I kind of just sat on the table. I'm like, all right, well, I'm not an app developer. I'm not going to be the one that created. I just wanted it for myself. And then later that year, I attended 12 weddings, the post-pandemic year of weddings. I'm in my 30s now, and everyone's been getting married. And I finally just had it at a wedding. I'm not going to call out names, but beautiful wedding, horrible communication. And we had, we're in different text messages with different family members. We had a 2-hour time difference from the ceremony to the reception. And we're trying to figure out what everyone's doing in between time. And then we get to the venue. We have no idea where the ballroom is. We're doing laps around this building. And I just kept thinking, man, I want this app. Like, I want it for my wedding, but like, I want it for a guest at weddings. Like, I want to be able to communicate with other people ahead of time. And I do feel like when we go to weddings, we're kind of isolated. We stick with our groups of who we know or who our family members are. And we're not really reaching out to meet and make other connections with their other people, because a wedding day, everyone's bringing their closest friends and family together. And I wanted to be able to make a community of those people that they're bringing together, which ultimately led me into the research of how to start an app.
So I'm curious about that part of it, because I think for a lot of people listening, and probably you, it sounds like very early on, it was like, I'm not an app developer. I don't, maybe know a lot about technology from that side of things. What kind of were some of the things that you learned early on in terms of developing an app? Like, did you go hire a full development team? Did you start on YouTube, of course, everyone's favorite place to learn stuff? Like, what were the steps that you took to kind of learn those new skills that you needed?
Yeah, I'm still learning as I go, but I pretty much just did a Google search. What does it take to develop an app? And there's 3 approaches. You can go a freelancer, which I was a little skeptical of because I feel like I don't have that tight relationship with them, or it's just, what if they go rogue on me? Or you can have your own in-house team, but then you're paying someone's salary and health. And I definitely didn't have the funds to do that. And then there's the agency route, which is what I end up doing. And I end up making a post on my LinkedIn looking to get an app developer agency. And my LinkedIn just went nuts. I had like 200 emails in one day, and I shut my LinkedIn off because I'm like, all right, now I need to vet through who these developers are and research them. I end up interviewing 16 developers and narrowed it down to my top 3 of who I wanted to proceed with, and then finally made the ultimate choice of which development company was best fit for me and within my budget as well.
That's so neat. That's super cool. That's one of the things that I think in just entrepreneurship in general is scary for a lot of folks, because, you're jumping in, and I think a lot of our listeners and viewers can relate to that. If you're not a venue owner and you're looking to start a venue, it's like, where do I start? And maybe they found this show because of that, but it's that bravery and boldness to kind of kick off that search and start, and like you said, make a post, and then just kind of go next step. So let's kind of take it back. So you have a background in corporate events. It's kind of like where you came from professionally. Is that correct?
Yeah, predominantly corporate events.
Okay. So I think corporate events, just from my limited knowledge, they have a lot more technology, I would say, probably woven into the design of how big conferences are run or things like that. When you look at apps like Eventbrite or, even ticketing things like StubHub, things like that, is your app kind of like those for the wedding industry, or is it more of a social app that connects people? I don't want to use Slack as an example, but almost like Slack. I think people know Slack or WhatsApp to kind of like connect. Is it conversation based, or is it more like ticketing and space planning or, itinerary stuff?
There's only a few apps that are focused on conferences that I'd say it's more similar. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Cvent, but they do ticketing systems too. They do registration. They're like the full package. They are the best of the best. Love their work. And that's really what inspired me was, wow, I love these tools to be able to have all these different portals and be able to connect certain ways. And I would say it's more like that. But I'd also say it's kind of a combination of like a social media hub within it. So it's a combination of a wedding website, social media interaction. You have the chat ability. You have a feed. So it's private to those that are invited to the wedding. So whether it's a 50-person wedding or 300-person wedding, that feed is just for that wedding group. And that's where you can really like share outfit inspirations. What's everyone wearing? I've included a flight sharing portal. So people can put what flights they're coming into. So you can see what cities they're flying in from, what time they're landing. A lot of people were able to communicate ride shares. Unfortunately, with the wedding, with something not going wrong or going wrong. But for my wedding, everyone's flight got canceled. So everyone that was out of Charlotte was at the airport together, and the whole airport was like, we're not doing any more flights to Florida today. So people are like scrambling on the airport, but they're all communicating with each other through the app to try to figure out alternative plans. It also was good because I'm sure if other people like felt like they were by themselves and this was happening, they probably just would have backed out and not gone to the wedding. And I did hear from a lot of our couples or our friends saying that they felt more secure knowing that other people were in the same situation. They were able to have another travel buddy to kind of figure out those alternative plans with them. But it really includes everything from like guests can see who the other guests are. So if you're curious, if your ex is going to be there, you can check out the app and make sure, or maybe like you have a sorority sister that you were wondering, is she coming to the wedding or not? I don't know if I should text and ask her. I can find out and see on the app who all's going. You can see what city the other guests are coming from. So maybe someone's from the same hometown that you don't know, and it's a good icebreaker. Or maybe you reach out to them ahead of time. Hey, what flight are you on before they did the flight share? You can also see relationship statuses. So if you're curious if there's any single people attending the wedding, and I'm constantly setting up my single girlfriends. So naturally kind of include that into the app.
Totally. Probably avoid a lot of like awkward scenarios, but then also, facilitate those connections that people are all looking for, and that weddings, I think specifically are a hub for. So that's awesome. Yeah. I can't think of how many friends who like met their significant other at a wedding, or it was like a friend of a friend. It was a mutual introduction, or even a reconnection of like, oh, we went to high school together, but we like haven't talked or haven't seen each other in, 10 years or whatever. That's super cool.
Yeah, we'll throw a dating app in the mix. So social media, dating app, wedding website, all the above.
Very cool. Very cool. So and let's get to your wedding. So you just got married recently here, April, you were saying. You use this as kind of this beta launch, this soft launch, or sounds like a very real launch for the app. How did that go? And kind of like in retrospect, like give me the experience of that, because that must have been wild. I mean, you have your business cap on, and also, you're getting married. It's your event. So tell me how that went down.
Yeah, I don't recommend launching a company on your wedding day. I will say I had a very hard time separating myself from bride and event manager. But I think whether or not I was launching this at the same time, I still think I would have had a hard time separating myself, just because I'm such a natural event planner. I'm always like, what time is it? What's the queue? Where do we need to be at next? And I really had a hard time like letting my wedding planner take the lead of it. But it was truly amazing to see everything come together. And the reason why I built this really was about the guest experience. And although a wedding is very much about the couple, I think it's important to realize that the guests that are coming, they're taking time off work, they're taking PTO, they're traveling, they are spending a weekend with people that they might not know that well. And again, maybe this just happened to me as a natural person, but like anytime I'm hosting events, I want to connect people. I want to introduce them to each other. Even if it's at my wedding, I want to make sure no one's by themselves, that they feel included. And that really was the whole purpose of this app. And I was so happy to be able to see it all come together. And I think I was most surprised that the push notifications worked seamlessly. So we have push notifications that your wedding planner or venue manager, whoever's running the show the day of, can send alerts to your guests during the wedding and even before. But we did alerts like, don't forget to arrive at 4:15. We did our cocktail hour before the wedding. So like, all right, bars open at 4:30. But then when it was time to get everyone to sit down, we did a text alert. My planner did the text alert, it was not me, of, hey, everyone, the ceremony is about to begin. Please take a seat. And instantly, everyone's like, we all sat down at the same time. I've never seen this happen before. I'm like, good, it worked. This is happening. But it was really exciting just to kind of have a little mix of branding. I think because of the loss of my father, I was trying to do everything in my power to make it more of a celebration and give it that corporate, like, exciting vibes, gala vibes, versus getting too emotional about like some of the sentimental stuff. So we end up doing all of our speeches the night before because we didn't want to have any speeches at the wedding. But I think being able to launch the app at the wedding, it was able to show me what worked well, what things didn't work well, what things I wanted to change. And we were able to make those updates in real time and make sure it's working seamlessly for future weddings.
Hey there, pardon the interruption. I wanted to take a minute and share about Common Sense Events and the consulting and management services we provide. Common Sense Events has been a venue management company that professionally manages and operates venues all over the United States for the last 5 years, and we've booked hundreds and hundreds of weddings. We've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on Google ads and Facebook ads per year, and we would love to help serve you at your venue if you're considering a new model of venue management. Now, this is perfect if you own or operate a venue and you're just looking to kind of have it be more of a passive investment for you, more of a real estate play rather than an active business that you run, or if you're a real estate investor and you're looking to purchase a piece of land but don't really know how you're going to manage it, that's where our team comes in. We do everything from the marketing, the sales, the operations, and we have teams in place that we hire locally to help you with all of those things. We manage those teams, we pay for the taxes, we do everything from setting up tables and chairs all the way to the final review of the wedding. So if that sounds interesting to you, we would love to chat with you. You can reach us at venues@cseventservices.com, and you can also just reach out on the podcast. You can send us a DM on Instagram, or even just click the link in the description of this video or podcast. Thank you so much. Now back to the show. That's huge. That's awesome. Working with a developer team, did you like warn them? You're like, hey guys, I know it's my wedding, but like I'm going to have some things like a whole list after this. Were you talking to them during? Is it the sort of thing where I don't know anything? I've never made an app before. Is it where you can make live updates like as things are breaking or not breaking, or is it more like you just had a list of things you gave them on Monday and you said, hey, we need to work through this?
So I did a long list, but there were some things that I saw that were like urgent. Like there was a few like duplications of posts, like, oh, we gotta tweak that. And then after the event concludes, it will be sent over to a forever after. But most weddings, they can be like a weekend long affair. So say the wedding, the last day was on a Sunday, it should move over on Sunday, but we realized that the event moved over on a Saturday. So those were like very like small tweaks that we were able to catch early on and be able to fix those in real time. But about like the communication aspect of the app, yes, people can also communicate in real time. So like I mentioned, everyone's flights got canceled. This was the night before the wedding, so the night that we were going to do all the speeches. And we decided to push the welcome party back a few hours. And I got the approval from all my vendors in the venue about pushing the time back. And I was able to make a post on the app to alert all the guests on the new time of the welcome party. So instead of having to text everybody, everyone was alerted in real time of the new changes, which I think a lot of people were happy because it was originally at.
That makes total sense. That kind of brings me to the next thing that I want to ask about. So give me, is it an app? Like you can go to the App Store or Android Play Store and you can download it?
Yes, it is on Apple and Google Play. Okay,
amazing. And then is there a desktop version as well, or is it just app-based right now?
It is currently just app-based. We are going to make a desktop version for the admin side, but for the guest experience, we are going to keep that solely as an app-based.
That totally makes sense, because I mean, unless you have something to do with the setup of it, why you're not normally going on your laptop. That makes a lot of sense. So explain, I'm obviously, Venue RX, like we're all about venues, we're all about vendors and everything, that side of things. Tell me about the applications for this app and why venue professionals, vendors, planners should be really excited about something like this.
Yeah, so I think this is something great that planners or even venues can include with their services. So when they book their service, they can say, with me, I can give you access to the wedding app. And I'm very much happy to train people and walk them through of how to set up, because I think they're the ones that are working with most of the brides and the couples. So this is a premium service that they can offer their guests, and especially for venues that we got to have that rain plan. So what happens if it does rain? How are we going to communicate that to everyone? By having this app, this will be able to alert everyone if those changes are happening, or maybe the venue and the planner are coordinating some of the shuttle buses. Maybe the bus is about to leave. So being able to make those announcements and alert people might still be in their hotel getting ready, but they'll be alerted that the bus has now arrived. So I think it's really going to help enhance that communication aspect for both venues and planners.
So it really sounds like for venues, just to kind of start there, you can help with some of the logistics. We just started managing a property in Connecticut, and I'm getting ready to live out there actually for a couple of weeks and just kind of get everything set up. But eventually we would like to do 2 weddings in one day, and there's multiple entrances on the property, and we have a total of 2 buses and then 2 trolleys. And so the communication of where those trolleys are going, who's, the stop, like it's basically every 15 minutes that the trolley or the bus will come around and pick people up and take them to the 2 different locations. So stuff like that, I can see any time adjustments or anything like that. Like you can't, like even through a group text, like how obnoxious is that to be on a group text with, 100 people? Like it's just not going to happen. Mm-hmm. So could you walk us through some of the other features? I know you mentioned there's the text thing, and we were kind of playfully messing around about the dating app and some of those things, but like, when we download the app, what's the experience like? What features do you have access to? And then I'm really curious on pricing as well. Does it cost something for a vendor or a venue to use it, or does it cost for the user? Break that down for us.
I wish I could demo my screen and show you, but maybe we can do this after as well. So the way it works, when you first log on, you're going to have a screen that says upcoming weddings. And this is for the guest experience. You'll have what weddings are confirmed and which ones are pending. I think many times I've been guilty of this myself, of forgetting to RSVP to weddings, whether it's through a website or a physical invitation. So this is going to be really helpful for guests to be able to see, oh, I still haven't RSVP'd. I need to give them an answer. And it can also do automated reminder alerts for the guests that have not RSVP'd to RSVP. And then you'll have an admin side. So that will be my events. And those are the ones that venues or planners are in full control of and they've created. But when you get into it, so say you have 5 weddings coming up next year, you can have all 5 weddings live in one place. So you don't have to keep remembering different URLs or special codes. You can have everything in a centralized location. And then when you get to that wedding, it includes everything a wedding website would have, including about the couple, the schedule feature, which is awesome. I like to over communicate. So I have a day-by-day breakdown of the schedule. And I definitely encourage people, like, tell them what time the cocktail hour starts and ends. Tell them what time the ceremony. Is it a 1-hour ceremony? Is it a 30-minute ceremony? We want to know these things. And maybe you're doing a welcome party. Maybe you're going to Mexico and you're having a catamaran ride, or you're doing brunch. So there's other activities surrounding it. Let the guests know. And this way, more people can decide whether or not, oh, I'm actually going to stay until Sunday afternoon versus leaving Sunday morning. And then you'll have everything from your meal selections. So we have 2 options. Saying you're doing a buffet and it's a station dinner, you can just do a customized note saying we'll be having a station dinner. Or if you need people to select your meals, you can put exactly what those meals are, throw in a pretty image, and you can export the BEO and send those to the venue as well. Oh, wow. You have the chat. The chat ability is you can chat directly one-on-one. So if you want just one-on-one conversations, or if you want to do a group chat of like the family members or the bridal party, hey, don't forget we're taking pictures after the ceremony. You can do group chat like Instagram. And then you have the community feed that's kind of like the Facebook feed, works for all. You have hotels. So I split it up of which is your preferred hotel and which is nearby hotels. Because sometimes I go to wedding websites and I'm like, well, there's 5 hotels. What hotel is everyone staying at? I'm like, I want to stay where everyone else is staying at. So yeah, you kind of separate the 2 and then also communicate with everyone. Where are you guys staying at? You have the registry. So right now, what I recommend for registry is the clients and the couples will build out their registry, whether it's Amazon, Crate and Barrel, Target, take those registry links and just put them right here on the app. So all your registries can be in one place. And then when you click it, it sends you directly to those sites. You might like this one, digital seating charts. So for my wedding, because it was a launch event, we did everything digital. All the signage was digital. The seating charts were digital. Saved me a lot of money because I did everything digital and the venue worked out that way. But I released the seating chart a week before the wedding. So all my guests could see who they were sitting with in advance. Most everyone knew everyone at their table, but for those that may not have known everyone, it gave them an opportunity to introduce themselves earlier on, whether it's the welcome party when they arrive. So like, hey, I see we're sitting together. Nice to meet you. Or I see you also went to college with Kerry. So did I. But it's also great for last minute changes because we know that happens all the time, whether the cousin decides to bring a date after all, and you got to add a name to the list. So this way, if there are last minute changes, that can be alerted in real time. And then you can also share your floor plan. And again, I like to over communicate. So I had the seating chart and then I had a map of where all the tables were at. So table 7 was able to see where table 7 was located at. So when they got to the venue, they knew exactly where that table was. We did have table signage. Don't worry for that. We had the numbers, but they were able to have a better sense of where they were going. And the vendor not vendor recommendations, we'll cut that out. And the vendors, couples and clients can display who their vendors are at their wedding. So anyone that came to my wedding, kind of like what Instagram's doing now, people are tagging their venue, their photographer, their florist. So anytime, and this will live in my forever. And if someone loved my DJ, they can go back to my wedding and see who my vendors are and book my DJ. They have direct access to their booking link and I'll send them straight to them. If they love my wedding planner, they can find out who my wedding planner was and go straight to them. So even if you have friends that are getting married in the same city, like, oh, well, what was the florist that she used? They can easily access this and pull it up and share that information. So I think that's definitely going to be huge for vendor access. I am in phase 2 of the app, we are going to have a vendor view, vendor communication portal for vendors to be able to communicate amongst each other just as the guests are. So right now, this is really much the planner and the guest communication, but eventually the planner and the vendors will also have the communication and their floor plans and their schedules are going to look a little different. So whether it's load in, load out time, their floor plans might be where the arbor's at or where the centerpieces are going to go. You have shared photo albums, which I know there's a lot of apps out there already for that. Luckily, this one's already integrated in, so you don't need to download an additional app to have it. You can have shared photo albums with all your guests. And those announcements that we had talked about, those push notifications are definitely going to be what is going to change the way how we experience weddings.
Kerry, this is amazing. While you were describing this, I was just thinking the application for vendors. Then you kind of got to that vendor side of like, but it made me think, could you give us a picture? Like, I don't know. Do you see this replacing the way that people are even maybe invited to weddings? Like instead of getting an invitation, because that's an additional expense, you can obviously make them very beautiful, but with how mobile focused we are, and especially with the, younger generation who's getting married or starting to kind of enter that age where I really think you're seeing, like, I guess technically I'm a millennial, but like there's, and sounds like we may be a very similar age. There's this kind of like changing of the generation, being as mobile focused as the newer generations will be. Is it the sort of thing that you may get a text link, you may be able to do everything digitally, and so you'll be able to kind of free up more of your budget to spend on the venue or catering or photography or videography or whatever? Do you kind of see that happening, or do you think that it is going to be more, I guess not that far, like after that happens?
So I definitely see it replacing wedding websites. As far as invitation, it could. There's the way you invite guests, it is through a text invite or a link or a QR code. Again, over communication, 3 options. But what I did for mine was I just did a one and done physical invitation. I did a save the date and I put the QR code that's already embedded into the app, whichever event you create. And I put that QR code on the back of my invitation saying all further communication and RSVPs will be collected through the wedding app. So I did save money on not having that second formal invitation for the RSVP collection, but I still love having those physical invitations. Gotta have a picture, keepsake. But yes, it is definitely an option.
Amazing. So then describe to me if someone were to use this app. Let's take it from the couple's perspective. You kind of described it a little bit. So they get an invitation. It has a QR code on it. They would scan the QR code. Now take us kind of through the client journey from that scanning of the QR code.
So for new users that have not downloaded the app, it will then require you to create a profile, which is a one and done thing. I promise this will be very helpful for future weddings coming. So once you have a profile created, then that invitation will hit your pending events. So until you RSVP yes or no to the wedding, that will determine whether it goes into confirmed. For your profile though, say you have a profile already created now you got invited to another wedding, and say it's a text message versus a QR code. If someone texts you a link of a new wedding invitation, that's automatically going to hit your profile and will already be sitting in your pending. And so you may be able to get it early while you're waiting on the physical invitation to arrive as well. Or if it's just the QR code, you just scan the QR code, it will pop up your profile and it'll sit right back in your pending.
Amazing. That is so cool. Because like you said, you went to 12 weddings and then you were like, oh my gosh, you could have had all of those weddings sitting in your pending wedding category. And then just as they came up, that is so neat.
On top of that, I think the hardest thing with the 12 weddings was I couldn't keep track of which hotels I booked, which flights I booked, whether or not I RSVP'd or not. So I actually included a checklist for guests in the app too. It's a short one, just whether or not you've RSVP'd. Did you book your hotel? Did you book your flight? Did you select your menu? So it also keeps your guests on track of what other action items they need to complete.
Okay, Kerry. So I love how this is going. I love the direction, how you're building it, and it's just super neat. So what's the future look like for the wedding app?
So I definitely think this is going to change the way we experience weddings from a couple, from a planner, from a venue, and from a guest perspective. I think it is going to create a sense of community for everyone and generate excitement from all ends.
I love that. And I can definitely tell with the chat features, with the intentionality. I know you said over communication a number of times, but it definitely seems like you've built that inside the app. And I'm curious, the last kind of, I guess, real question, and we aren't going to be able on 45 minutes to get into everything, but I'd love for people to go download it, to go check it out, and to encourage your friends to use it, because that's going to be all good feedback for you. But where are you at in this process? Are you like raising money? Like if people are interested in what you're doing and you want to grow, maybe an investor's listening to this, or maybe other app developers, or like what stage of the business cycle are you at? And if people did want to reach out and partner with you or whatever, are you ready for vendor partnerships yet?
I am. I definitely think my next step is getting an investor on board. With a new company comes a lot of opportunities, and there's so much I want to do with this app. I already have phase 2, phase 3 in place, ready to go. But the bigger I grow, the more funds I will eventually need. So that is something on the table for the future.
I love that. Cool. Well, hey, I will make sure that we put all of the links and everything in the description. And where do you want people to go, if they're excited about what you're doing? Maybe they even want to use it for their own wedding.
Yeah, I'm very responsive on Instagram. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. The Instagram is The Wedding App USA. I also have a few how-to videos. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to walk you through it.
Awesome. Kerry, thank you so much for coming on today. This is great. And I appreciate you sharing the app and how you build it, how you got started. And I think you've got a really exciting road ahead of you of building this thing into something that, like you said, is going to change how we experience weddings. So thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate this.
Pardon the interruption, I wanted to take a moment and share with you about WEVA. WEVA stands for Wedding and Event Venue Association, and it is a professional association custom built for venue owners and operators. We felt like there was a lack of resources, community, education, and networking available specifically for our industry, and so we recently started this association, and it's been growing by the day. We would love to extend an invite to you, so please click the link in the description or wherever you're watching this video, and we would love to welcome you into the community.